Hey everyone, it's Braden here. Today we're going to talk about how to generate some offense when you're at the kitchen. So as you get better and as you play better people, you're going to see less unforced errors, more balls are going to come back, and you're just going to see less pop-ups in general. So you need to learn how to generate some of your own offense. If you try generating some offense without a plan, you're going to get a lot of hard counters coming back at you. That's not what you want. There are two main components when initiating an attack at the net that you want to think about. One is when to attack the ball, and two is where should you target your attack. So those are the two things we're going to pay attention to as we analyze some pro points and see what we can learn from them. So this first example is from AJ Kohler. So let's watch this point. Kohler gets this mid-court reset ball from Newman that is a little fluffy. The ball bounces high, presenting itself as an opportunity to attack. So here's the first lesson. Anytime you get a fluffier or a dead dink, even off of a reset like this is an opportunity to attack the ball. However, this is one of the more obvious times someone will attack, so you need to be very precise with where you target your speed up or where you target this attack. So let's see what Kohler does. Kohler waits for the ball to reach its apex, this is important, and then sends it low across the net at Riley's paddle side hit. So this is an important target. If you can place the ball on the paddle side of your opponent's body when you attack from any situation at the net, then this will often result in a weak response or even a win altogether sometimes. So this is right where Kohler puts it, and then Riley hits it into the net. I do want to point out Kohler's technique here. There's some things that we can learn from this. So if you look close, you notice that he doesn't use a big swing, which helps disguise the attack and prepare him for the next ball. So he gets his paddle underneath the ball so that he can lift it up and over the net, because the ball is only about net high, maybe even a little lower. So you have to lift it up over the net, and then he gets a little top spin on it to keep it low and make sure the ball stays in court if Riley does decide to leave it. Okay, so let's look at another example. This example comes from Andrea Coop. So she gets this dink that is a little high, but is still below the net, so she can't hit down on it. So when you get a dink that is close to net height and you're in a stable position, this is an opportunity to attack. So Andrea decides to attack this and rolls it over the net and targets Jesse's paddle side hip. This earned her a high ball that she could swing down on and put away. So we see a similar theme here as the point before. Andrea targeted the paddle side of the person in front of her, which is a difficult spot for the defender to get to. Also, notice how compact Andrea's swing is here, just like AJ's was the point before. She has a very compact, tight swing. She's putting a little bit of pace on it, but pace isn't her focus. She's more focused on putting this in a spot that's difficult to defend so that she can get a weak response and an easier ball to put away and that she can swing down on. The ultimate goal with these initial attacks is not to win the point, but to earn something that's popped up that you can then put away. For our third example, this one's going to be a little different than the first two we looked at. This one is of Susanna Barr. So Susanna gets this attackable fluff dink, and instead of attacking the paddle side of the person in front of her, she hits this ball down the middle into space. So why does she attack space instead of the paddle side of the person in front of her? Look at her opponents step back when they realize Susanna might attack. So when your opponents are backing off the line like these two were, it opens up more angles and space to attack. So in this scenario, attacking space is better than attacking the paddle side of the person in front of you. It's going to be more difficult to get. So if the team in front of you is presenting space, then by all means attack that space. But if you don't have that space in front of you, then it's better to attack a spot on the person's body that is difficult for them to get back, like that paddle side of their body. Let's look at another different type of attack. So this one is an example of attacking the ball that's well below the net. So those first three were examples of balls that were net height. This one is of an example of a ball that's well below. So this one is of Jessie Irvin. Jessie gets this ball low. She decides to attack it. She targets the person straight across from her and aims at her paddle side shoulder. So in order for this type of attack to work, it has to come as a surprise. And you need to attack the person straight across from you and be very precise with your target. Because attacking the ball this low means that you have to hit it up higher to get it over the net, and you have to hit it softer in order for it to stay in play. So if you miss that paddle side shoulder, then this ball is going to come back real fast on you. I wouldn't recommend using this type of attack super often, but this is something that you can have in your arsenal and bring out every once in a while to mix up your attacks and keep your opponents guessing. To finish things off, let's look at 3 failed attacks and diagnose what went wrong and see what we can learn from them. So this first example here is of Matt Wright. Matt gets a fluff dink from Lung, so he's in a stable position. This ball is attackable, but instead of attacking it straight across, he decides to attack it cross court at Kohler. So when you attack cross court like this, you're giving your opponent just that much more time to react to the ball, because the ball has to travel a further distance. And so by attacking cross court, you're giving that person more time and increasing their chances to have a strong counterattack in response, which is what happens here. So Kohler gets a good paddle on it. Newman can't get to it, can't get in front of it, pops it up, and then his partner Lung finishes the high ball. So I'm not saying you can never attack cross court, but if the person cross court from you has good hands like Kohler does, it's best to attack the person in front of you, because that shortens their time to react to the ball and it increases the chance of success of your attack. So lesson there is be careful when attacking cross court, and attack straight on more than you do cross. So here's another failed attack example. This one is of Rob Cassidy. He gets a ball below the net, decides to attack it. He actually hits the ball really well. You can see his paddle dip under the ball. He lifts it up, has plenty of top, but he went down the middle thinking there was space there. But when your opponents are at the line, there's usually not too much space. So he tries to attack space rather than attacking the paddle side of Ben's body, and then Ben gets a strong counter on him that he eventually finishes. So just when you do attack, you need to be very precise with where you're targeting, and in this case it probably would have been better if Rob had attacked the paddle side body of Ben rather than going for space. So the final failed example we'll look at comes from a point from Anna Bright. So Anna Bright gets this dink, it's off of a cross court. She decides to attack it but hits the ball into the net. So why does she hit this ball into the net? Well, the dink that she decided to attack wasn't a dead dink. It wasn't very fluffy. It was even behind her a little bit. And when the ball's behind you, it's really difficult to get your paddle underneath and to flick it up and get the lift that you need. Although this attack might come as a surprise to the opponent in front of you, it's very low percentage. It's a very difficult ball to attack. She wasn't stable. The ball was behind her. The ball wasn't very high. And this is probably a poor choice of the type of ball to attack. So there's another lesson we can learn there. Be selective with the balls you attack. Make sure you're in a stable position, and then the ball's out in front of you. So in conclusion, here are a few things we learned by analyzing these, both successful and failed attacks. 1, you can attack a variety of balls. The ball can be net height, or it can even be below the net. 2, be intentional with where you're attacking. So target space when it's available, especially when your opponents are backing off the line. And it's best practice to attack the person straight across from you when you don't have space, and to target that paddle side of their body, just because that creates a difficult spot for your opponent to get a strong counter or a block. 3, your initial attack does not need to be hit 100%. Keep that at like 75, 80%. Focus more on target rather than pace, and keep your stroke compact to prepare for the next ball. And then 4, make sure you're in a stable position and that the ball is out in front of you before you attack. So there you go. That's all I have for you. Thanks for watching, and I hope it helped.
Take a big swing at it, and they're still up.